Hello, hello. Today, Miss Tina is joining me to kind of talk about what we saw the first little bit of Helene and how she's been volunteering and been a part of the community in all of those efforts that have been up. Today is January 31st, so this has been over 4 months of this craziness, and we're just going to kind of talk about. Um, Everything but the volunteering specifically and the things that we've seen and the things that have been good, things that have been not so good. And as we talk, I have this QR code up for the TLC Center. That is a community center here in our immediate area that's doing a lot of good in our community. So if you feel called to donate to our community, that's the best place to send some funds. We all kind of share and communicate on what we have. And so that's what that is. Please, as you listen, if you'll like, comment, share, just help us kind of continue to get the word out. I know that this has been a very long 4 months, and I just appreciate that you're listening and here. And I'm going to introduce Miss Tina. Here's Miss Tina. Hi.
Hi.
She's joining us from her car. We've had a lot of tech difficulties this morning. So I appreciate that you hung in there with me and you're still here.
No problem.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
Good. I'm good. So, if you don't mind, can you share just a little bit about what that first day looked like for you?
The first day I was at work and it was like before lunchtime and we kept getting all these alerts on our phone and stuff and it was crazy. And I started to go home, but by then I'd done heard so many stories over here, things going on, I decided to stay at work for safety. That afternoon when I started home, I was working in Gray at the time,
Yeah.
so it didn't take long to get home. But the night I started home, every access into my home, I couldn't get into it at all. Well, later, when I finally got into Elizabethton, there was one restaurant open. Everything was pitch black.
Ooh.
There were hundreds of cars that were lined up around this one restaurant. And by the time I got through town and came back around to where I could get into the house, I got across that bridge, which was the only bridge to get to my house, to find that all the light poles and stuff was down. So
Yeah.
they had it barricaded to where I couldn't get home. Luckily, there was a cornfield there next to it, so I was able to drive through the cornfield and go around and get home, which I shouldn't have done because there was power lines everywhere, but I just want to get home. It took me 5 hours to get home
Holy cow. From Gray,
from
which for
Gray.
reference, that's like what, 40 minutes usually? What's a regular
Yeah,
drive?
30 to 40, give or take.
Yeah.
But by the time I got home, though, no power, nothing, and you don't know what to
Mm-mm.
expect. You don't, but because everything outside's black and all. But me and my mom, we just kind of sit there and just was quiet because we didn't know what to do. You couldn't get hardly anything, radio, TV, nothing, because everything was gone.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we finally got through that. Got up that morning, and things was really bothering me because I was looking outside. I was not seeing anything yet. I was hearing all these horrible stories. So I got out and I got in my car and I drove up to Hampton.
Mm.
And to me, it looked like the Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, I told myself then, I said to God, these are our friends, our family. You got to help, And so here I am, finding myself driving to Johnson City, going to as many stores as I can to get them water because there's no water.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody done bought it off the shelves. It literally took the rest of the weekend just to get water to send up there. But after that, I vowed it was my mission to help them, and I wouldn't stop.
Mm-hmm.
I full force after that.
Yeah. And do you feel like, so in your like immediate area, you didn't have power, and it's you and your mom? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I'm on the Siam side, like you come around the river and you come across the steel bridge and you come. So we kind of felt like we was on our own little island and everybody around us was affected and we were just sitting here,
Oh,
and
weird.
it was, yeah, it was really spooky.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you were specifically in the Hampton area at the beginning, is that
Uh-huh.
right? And then I've seen,
Yes.
like, just on your Facebook, you've been all over the place, it seems like, now.
I I started out when I started with Hampton, then I got with Tammy Wallace at the pit. And what I would do there is I would work at day and I would go to the pit stop at night and help her rearrange trailers, stock, make bags. We had a runner, Jordan, and Jordan would take them out to the bad places, as we called it then, at
Mhm,
night. And I
yeah,
mean, we would literally load him down, and people would run after him, taking these bags from him because they needed it.
yeah,
Um, I, I didn't feel totally safe at that time going out, but the more and more I watched Jordan, the more and more I wanted to do it. So after a couple of weeks, I got with Tammy and I got with Cindy, and they started helping me get supplies. And I started out in Loafer's Glory, which
mhm,
is in Bakersville. Ran into Once I got over there, I ran into that was sitting in her car, and she had her dog, and she stopped to talk to me, and she says, "You see all that stuff?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "That's mine." She says,
mhm,
"Me and my dog are living in a car." So I got her a tent and some blankets and all that stuff and gave them to her. And it just, but to me, Bakersville over there it became like a home to me because it seemed like it was so smaller over there and they wasn't getting the help, and
mhm,
it was just a wreck. And
mhm,
I caught myself going there in Spruce Pine more so than Tennessee because it was so bad over there.
yeah. And how do you feel like they're doing right now?
They those people amaze me. They've been through more than anybody can stand. Yet you go over there and they're smiling, they're happy. They appreciate everything you do for them. They're never down. I guess the best I saw them is when Trump went over the other day. It's like he gave
Mhm,
them hope.
yeah,
And like I said, I haven't got to get over there yet, but I am going, and I feel like I'll see some changes because I feel like just that was a push for them, and things are starting to look better to them. I know a lot of volunteers have pulled out and they're suffering really bad right now.
yeah, I'm curious what your thoughts are on that too, because I think I have noticed that, and it seems like it's just unsustainable, like, the volunteering nonstop for the past 4.5 months. If you have a job or if you have kids, if you have family, it's really, really hard to balance that while also trying to
It is.
help and volunteer. Um, how have you done that? Like, what do you have to say about that?
Luckily, I had supportive people I worked with, and they supported me. I mean, they even went as far as bringing me supplies, and they supported what I did. It was hard sometimes though because I found myself not stopping.
Mhm.
After working 8 hours a day, I'd go straight there and work 12, 1 o'clock at night. My
Yeah,
mom wanted to kill me because my bedroom looks like a distribution center, and it still does.
yeah,
Um, but I'm always afraid somebody's going to need something.
yeah.
And and where I haven't been over there, I have a bond with them. And there's people that message me from over there now. They want to know how I am. They want to know something's happened to me, why I haven't been back, and how appreciative they are.
Mhm.
And it's made an impact on me that I just can't get out of my head. I don't want to stop.
Yeah. And, so I know you worked closely with, like, Elks Lodge at the
Mhm.
beginning, or are you still kind of, like, in touch with them and working with them?
Yeah, I stay in touch with them because um, they are like the distribution center, and yeah, the Elks is kind of to me is like my club too,
Mhm.
for the community. And I'm very proud of them because they have actually, at the last count I had, they have served over 11,000 people's needs through this.
Holy cow.
And I went down and I worked breakfast with Santa with them.
Oh, yeah,
It was amazing, and we ended up helping almost 200 kids.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And so can you tell us a little bit more, like, for people who don't know what the Elks Lodge is, maybe people who could benefit from what they offer or even people who wanna volunteer, can you share, like, a little bit more about that?
Um, they do all kinds of things for the community. I know they do like the shop with the cop and all those things too. So they're always into something in the community to try to help and try to help people out. And I mean, the things they kept there, even poor Cindy, she never stopped. I mean, even when breakfast with Santa was over, we'd have people still coming to the door needing toys for their kids, and she would stop what she was doing to make sure they had toys.
Yeah.
So it's just a very good organization.
And who is that? Sandy, is that what you said? Is that her name?
Cindy Duffy.
Cindy Duffy, okay.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay, and
I
then
mean, I got to know several of them. They're all good.
yeah, I've seen nothing but good things from them, and it seems like when other places were closed, they would be open and things like that where, um, they just seem to have been doing a lot of really good stuff.
They do, and I mean, I if I had a specific need, if she didn't have it, she'd go get it.
Yeah,
She made sure I had it to take over there, and that means a lot.
yeah, it does. Um, okay, what about tell me more about the, masquerade tomorrow. Are you going to that? You mentioned that
And
right before we got on here.
actually, they I was online one night and I noticed that they were wanting people to nominate who they thought was some of the volunteers that should be a guest at the ball. And I thought, man, I never win nothing like that, but it'd be awesome. And I did. um, I guess I had enough people nominate me to where I can go,
That's
and I
awesome.
get they're going to honor us. Yeah, and I never dreamed that I could ever do anything like that. But they're doing good things, and the masquerade ball is actually all proceeds is going to go to build homes, and they have a goal set to build over 20 homes just by having this ball.
That's really cool, and they also have, I think, do they have a silent auction? I feel like I saw.
Mhm.
Is that I can't remember if I remember this post right. Is that something that's open to people who don't actually go to the ball? Do you know anything about that?
Yes, as far as I know, it will be online as well. The silent auction will.
For people outside of the area can kinda look at stuff
And there's some
on that.
really nice things.
Is there? I haven't looked at it yet, but I'll have to
Yeah,
go look at it. I know a couple other people that are going. I think it's gonna be so fun. Um, I think that it's a really cool and fun different idea of, like, a good way to kind of give back to the volunteers while also still raising money. Um, I think that's really fun and good idea that they came up with that.
one
Um,
of the things I like there is, and they just decided to do this, but after the ball, they're doing this thing called fill the rack. And if you don't want your gown after the ball, you donate it to them, and it's going to go to benefit Madison County High School for their proms where they don't have dresses.
oh, that's a really good idea. That's awesome. Is there any other,
Yeah.
like, really? Because 'cause I've seen a lot of really creative ideas from people throughout this whole thing of like how to do things better, how to do things differently, or unique ideas. Is there anything else that stands out to you that you've seen people do that's kind of like unique or I don't know, like a good idea, you think?
I don't know if what I'm trying to say is what you're looking for, but I guess I guess it amazes me how our people in the southern states has come together and work together. Um, we've got guys over there from that's come up from Louisiana that are nonstop working. They're away from their family, their jobs, everything, just
Is that the Cajun Navy or
going at it
somebody
like
else?
crazy. Yeah,
The
Cajun
Cajun
Navy.
Yeah. They've been incredible. I've seen them all over the place from the very beginning.
Um, I kind of the and one thing too that does stand out to me is Christmas.
Yeah.
I know one of the first things I said, and my coworkers would tell you is, I said, "How does a parent tell a child Santa can't come?" I'd go to bed at night thinking about it. It's bothering me. And it got to where people would send me messages and stuff, and they're like, "Tina, these kids will have Christmas," and they did. They had a Christmas.
Yeah,
Um,
I was also blown away by, how many different Christmas programs there were, um, and just how generous people were. There was a group that came down from Kentucky when I was at the TLC Center, just, like, sorting some supplies, trying to get them ready for that big, Christmas event that they did, and he came down from Kentucky with a bunch of purses for the moms.
aw,
I It just made me cry because how many times I've seen, I saw this a lot with a project that I was working on to with, Miss Kayla really was the one that was running it, but I was trying to help her with some things, but there were so many times that these moms would ask for everybody in the family but themselves. They wouldn't
no, they would not. And I know when I was at the pit and we were making what we called the hygiene bags for the families,
Mhm.
it it got to where if I didn't, I was like, "Tammy, fill my car, put this stuff in my car. I'm going home and doing it too when I get home." And I had a hygiene explosion in my living room, but uh, I tried to put the most hygiene things I could put in those bags for them to make them feel good. And it's funny because they still wanted coffee.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I'd seen that over and over again, especially, um, I think it was Johnson County where we were taking things that they were getting sent to, and I was blessed that we got connected to a community out west that my sister kind of put together, and it was really cool because I knew a lot of the people who had like donated to the families, and I just because it was like people I knew out there helping people here, and it was just incredible to see the connections, and I think we've seen that through the whole thing is just good people all across the country that have kind of saved us the whole way
Yeah.
through. I've felt that anyways. I wonder if you have too, but
Oh, yes. And um, one of my experiences was I had a silent donor, and this silent donor, trusted me to do with the money what I needed to do. And we had a little girl who lived with just her mom, and her mom I think she was a baker. I'm not sure. I think she might have made cakes and stuff, but they'd lost everything. So I was able to use the funds that this donor gave me to make this child have a huge Christmas. And
oh, I love
we
that.
did. Well, I mean, we got her everything we could think of.
I love that. And that's a hard point too. I don't know if you've seen it feels like in the past 2 weeks or so, the scammers have been
Bad. Yeah.
insane. Insane, and it's made me very, sour, it's made me very sad, and how do you how do you determine, A, like, if you've I guess not in like, if you feel comfortable donating to somebody kind of way, but like, how do you determine who you trust through all of this?
It's hard. I mean, you kind of got to just go on your faith that they're doing the right thing and not. But I guess with me, what I would do is I just watch them, and if I feel like they keep coming back, keep coming back, keep coming back, that might be a little different. But I know over in North Carolina they're starting to do a punch card. It's gotten so bad in some spots that they're starting to give them punch cards, and that way they know what rooms they've been in, what things they have, and that they're not taking advantage.
That's kind of a good idea. A punch card. I like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And then
I mean, these distribution centers are set up so nice.
yeah. Well, and they've had to be, I don't know if you like at the beginning where you were at, like in those first 2 weeks, but it just felt chaotic no matter where you went. Like,
It was very, it was overwhelming because
yeah,
it's one night I was at the pit, and this guy comes in with a Fox pizza trailer, and this Fox pizza trailer is full of things from up north. Well, he just as soon as he brings that trailer, he's come back with another
yeah,
trailer, and then he's throwing his truck in reverse and unloading gallons and gallons of fuel that he paid for out of his pocket.
wow,
And it, you know, for us people struggling, we found a way to make sure we had things,
yeah.
and it was. I mean, and you still do. I still got Laura. I've still got kids' coats and everything, but
Ooh, I know
they
some
still
place
need
for
them.
that. I was gonna
You
say, I know where we can take those. Um, and that's, like, why I've been trying to do this channel to kinda get everybody on the same page because so it's been so hard for us to know, like, who has what supplies, who needs what, where, and that's why I've been trying to do once a week, just, like, the information I have, the needs that people are needing, the excess people have, and trying to kinda coordinate that. I don't know. I don't know if it's doing any good, but I hope it's helping
Oh, it
connect the
has to be
people that
doing
need
good.
like it's hard though. It's hard to
And we were on like a group chat with the ball the other night, and the next thing I know, it's like they're saying, "Hey, all of us volunteers gets together. We're going to be swapping supplies," and they're probably
yeah,
right. It's probably what's going to happen.
which is great, and
But
that's
that's
kind of
okay.
like yeah, and that's kinda what I hope because and it is that way, at least in my experience. The people who are doing good, who are actually here to do good, um, most everybody is willing to work together to, get things where they need to go, and I've seen God just do a lot of really cool, like, connections and almost like Tetris of getting everything where it needs to go.
Well, you read my mind on that one. Um, I was always scared to go through it. Once I was coming out of Bakersville, there was a turn that I would miss. Excuse me, I've had this awful cough. But I missed it one day, and I got so far out in there, and it was the really bad part, like where
Mhm.
the damage is it was out near the Buck Hill campground, and the damage was so scary, it would make you sick to your stomach. So I got up there, and I thought, I'm so far and I can't turn around. And so I pulled into this campground. And if you ever look at my pictures, you'll see the motorhomes. They're all still there. They're all just devastated, and it's just awful. And this man greets me. Well, he says he'll try his best to help me get out of there, but he's a volunteer from Florida. He looks down at my hand. He sees my tattoo, and I have the let them tattoo. So he hollers at his wife, which is in the motorhome, and she comes out, has the exact same one. I have on my Harley clothes, and she's a Harley girl. My ex-husband had gotten killed on one of our Harleys. Her son had gotten killed on his.
Wow.
So now we bonded. She's like my soul sister.
Mhm.
It's, that's one of my better stories.
Yeah.
But it, it was a bad path, but I think God put me there for that reason.
Yeah. I've seen that, throughout the whole thing, those connections, and I know that there's so many people I've met because of this that I am so grateful, that we have crossed paths, you included. I'm grateful for this conversation and for knowing you, and, um, I don't know, it's just there's a bigger picture that's really hard for us to see right now, I think.
It is. And I question God all the time, and I know I'm not supposed to, but in my mind, I'm like, why do those people keep getting hammered on? Now you got Batcave threatening to be
That
burned
far.
to the ground.
Yeah.
Why? What did they do? It's it's bad.
It's really hard to understand. It's really hard. And it's really hard to stay in a good headspace. At least I know, especially the past couple weeks. Um right before I would say the president came out, I was just like, how are we like how this is it's never gonna get fixed. Like
No,
nothing's gonna get better. And I know in the past week or so, I've felt, and I'm curious for you. I was in town yesterday trying to get somewhere. I was stuck on Lover's Lane because that's where we're all trying to go.
trucks, not the tractor trailers, but even the dump trucks where
The
they're
dump
miles
trucks. So
long. Yeah.
there's about 5 dump trucks on Lover's Lane when I was trying to get to an appointment. But I felt that there's been more dump trucks lately and more debris removal.
Oh,
And
there'll be way more.
I just saw something this morning about them coming to do debris removal, and I'm very excited about that. That's it almost feels like there's more happening in town.
That's a job that I would love to have, and I want to figure out how I can do it in Tennessee. They're doing it over there now. They have people like me who wants to follow them and make sure all the debris is picked up.
Yeah.
And I would love to do that. I mean, I would love to work, have a job in that field
Yeah.
because now that I've seen how dedicated I am to it, I'd have to love my job.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and
it's
I
just
know we still have a lot of for
everybody
anybody.
needs to.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, go
We're
ahead.
talking
My phone stopped.
For everybody who's not in our area, we still have debris. I didn't realize that people didn't realize that, until recently. I posted a picture of I was at Sycamore Shoals, the park at Sycamore Shoals, and I posted a picture of the river because it's clear again. And I was really excited that, like,
Finally,
it's clearing up, but there's a bunch of debris in the river because there is. And
yeah.
I didn't realize how many people didn't understand that we still have, and Sycamore Shoals is, like, one of our best areas that doesn't have as much debris, but it's still everywhere.
Oh, it's. I highly recommend everybody get out and go. That's not been over there and see something. I don't care what part you go to, you're not going to experience the full effect of what's going on over there until you see something. You got to see it. Um, Once you do, it's going to stay planted in your mind.
Mhm. Oh, yeah, I don't think any of us will ever, forget, or I had a real hard time taking pictures of it, um, because it's just so heartbreaking that I haven't wanted to take, photos throughout the whole thing, but I didn't realize how many people didn't really understand how bad it was, and part of me is like, "Maybe I should have taken the pictures." I don't know. I don't know, I feel like there's plenty of
Well,
pictures, but
for a while they were telling us not to. Um, they were telling us not to. They were saying that it makes them feel bad to see us taking pictures of the
Yeah,
things.
I totally get
But
that.
then they started reaching out to us saying, we want you to because people need to see.
Yeah,
And my phone's so full now, I don't know what I'll do with them all.
yeah, yeah. Well, and, okay, so one last thing I was gonna ask you about, now it slipped my mind. Oh, is there any, like, local businesses that you've seen just do amazing things that we should be supporting? Even from here all the way to Asheville, like, is there anybody that really stands out that we can, like, I don't know, just think of as we put our dollars back into the community any way we can, kind of thing.
Um, I know from my experiences, I can name. I know Brummets has
Yeah.
partner. Ridgewood Barbecue has been amazing. I had one of the employees at Ridgewood reach out to me and asked me if they can make stockings for our breakfast with Santa.
Mhm.
And their employees got together and made all the stockings for the children. Shamrocks. They made quilts, crocheted blankets. I mean, it pretty much goes on, the ones
Mhm.
that has. So, but I guess the ones like that sticks in my mind the most because they took time to make things,
Yeah.
and to me that was real important.
Yeah. There's different love that goes into that, I feel like. There's different
Yeah,
magic that kinda gets put into those things, I feel like.
yeah, and of course Tammy Wallace at the pit.
Yeah.
She's been awesome, and I mean, there's been times she's went harder than I did, and and she'd go for days and till she'd
Yeah.
get herself down. I mean, she'd go down in the valley down here and help people in their homes and stuff to just whatever she, handle hygiene stuff at least once a week, whatever she had to do.
Yeah. That's awesome. Alright, is there anything else you wanna add? Anything else you wanna put out?
Just don't forget them because that's their biggest worry
Yeah.
is being forgotten.
Is there any areas specifically that you feel aren't getting attention?
I feel like our elk meals and pogo over here, I, I feel like they need more attention.
Mhm.
Um, there's some places in North Carolina I feel needs more attention. You go like when you go over to Minneapolis or over in that way, it's like nothing's touched.
Yeah, I've been over there.
And
Yeah.
it's just you go over there and you see all those cars and those trucks and God forbid a body, but it does happen. It's it's just bad.
Yeah, those early weeks, I was trying to still help my kids kinda have more regular, days where we could, and, I remember we went to Sycamore Shoals specifically. 'Cause my kids I was like, "Oh, like, all the parks are closed, right? There's not there I think there was just the one on G Street that was open here in Elizabethton.
They're all
Yeah,
destroyed.
yeah, all of the other parks were destroyed." And then I was
And
like,
that's
"No."
something else. Every town I have been in, and I don't know the reasoning for this, the children's places are all destroyed. Every town.
I know. Oh, Tina, I cried. I went to Chick-fil-A because I thought, "Oh, well, the kids can play at Chick-fil-A," 'cause we went to Sycamore Shoals, and there was 4 cop cars that showed up, and I went, "We're not doing this, like, down at the river." I was like, "Put the kids back in the car." They were sad because they couldn't, go on the walk, and I didn't realize even then that, like, that the bridges or along the river had been washed, so that wasn't even a good idea that I had, but I was just desperate for something normal for the kids. So I went down to Sycamore Shoals, 4 cop cars showed up, and I was like, I feel nervous about walking anywhere close to the river right now." 'Cause there's all these cop cars, who knows what they found.
Exactly. I mean, I left for work one morning and there was the one body bag that when the Black Hawks and all those was here, and I was like,
Mm.
I got to go to work now and cry a little bit because
Yeah.
I don't know how to deal with this. It's
Yeah, so we went to Chick-fil-A because I was like, "Well, Chick-fil-A is an indoor playground, like, that'll be fine, right?" And we went in there and they had just remodeled and they took out the play place in Chick-fil-A. I remember just, like I was just crying in the middle of Chick-fil-A because I was just like, I j it's it just was that was my, like, silly straw that broke the camel's back, like, before then, I was,
yeah.
like, being all positive, like, "Oh, it's okay, like, we'll find somewhere else to go," and then we walk into Chick-fil-A, and my son's like and I'm like, it's just so it was just, like, it just it's one thing after another, it was just
How did you explain the flood to your kids?
Uh, not well. I don't think I did it right. Um, I wrote about it a little bit because I I try to make it okay. Um, so the day of, we had 4 trees fall in the yard, barely missed the house. We were so blessed. Our creek's right there. It was at the top. Like, it was stressful. And I put
Mhm.
the kids in the middle room of the house because we got trees here. So we all sat in the middle and we tried to color, and because we don't have power, and that kind of thing. Um and again, I didn't know how bad it was, right? So I'm like, "Oh, it's okay," kinda trying to make it okay. But when we did finally get out of our area, how do you explain that?
It's hard,
How do you
but yeah, I only hope that people do get their children more involved in it if they hadn't,
Yeah,
because, when these kids gets older, this is gonna be their history to tell their kids that they lived through,
yeah,
and, this is the second worst devastation as far as a hurricane ever. And there's still almost 400 people missing. They they need to know.
yeah, and we went down, like, past, like, the Lim Valley area, and, I have a very smart four-year-old. He asks lots of really good questions. And, he just kept asking, "Why is that tree down? Why does that house look like that? Why is this? Why is that?" Um, and so we just talked about it, about what happened, that there's a flood. We're trying to help how we can, that kind of thing. But I will say, about 2 weeks later, he started drawing pictures of houses with water in them, with hurricanes. And, like, I have a sister-in-law who's a
Did
therapist.
they get to where they wanted to help too?
Yes. Yeah. He understood what was happening, and, it's been a balancing act of, like, letting them be involved, but not too much of, stress, I guess, my stress specifically on them.
Yeah.
Um, but I asked my sister-in-law if him drawing hurricanes was a bad thing because she's a therapist. She's like, "No, I think it's actually good. He's processing." I'm like, "So what do you do? What do you how do how do you
Well,
help?"
if you keep them happy, you're doing something right, so I
Well,
guess
it was
that's the
funny, the other day when the power went out on the creek, both him and my two-year-old went, "Shadow games!" Like, they were excited that we got to play, like, with the flashlights again. I was like, "Okay."
you talk about therapists, I know where I live here on the river, I have a spot, and I'm not gonna lie, since this has happened, I have literally went out there and parked with my music, sometimes 4, 5, 6 hours. Just sit there. That's my therapist. I don't
Mhm.
know why, but since all this is just, puts my mind at ease.
It's hard. It's hard. And I think it's one of those that we'll look back
It
on
is.
years from now, and it'll be, I don't know. I don't know what we'll think 2, 3 years from now when we think back on this time.
I just hope that the people over there are in better by then, but
I know, me too. It doesn't feel like we have much of a light at the end of the tunnel.
it don't, and I mean, and it's like I said before, they stay so upbeat and so happy, and I don't know how. I mean, I'd probably kill myself or something,
Mhm.
to think that I'm paying for a house I don't have, a car I
Yeah.
don't have, and if I decide I'm fed up and I walk off and leave it, I can't buy another because I've destroyed my credit.
Mhm.
I mean, what do you do?
Mhm. I don't know. I don't know what the
I don't know
answer
how
is.
they cope with it,
Amazing people, though. Every
and,
one of them I talked to.
there's one statistic that sticks in my mind is where they said, the few days before, we had 7 to 11 inches of rain. And then the day the hurricane hit and it just stalled over us like a funnel, it dropped 40 trillion gallons on East Tennessee and Western North Carolina. 40 trillion.
Wow. Makes
Yeah,
sense why all those water gauges broke.
that's big.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy. Is there anything
And
is there anything that you'd say to anybody outside of our area, like last thoughts before we wrap up?
like, just don't forget them. Help what you can. I mean, even if it's as simple as asking somebody what their Amazon list is,
Yeah, because they still
if
have
it's,
them, and they're
yeah,
still in need.
I mean, if it's just snacks, I mean, it's coming up on summertime. They're going to their needs are going to totally change. So,
Yeah,
and their list does it change. Used to, it would change weekly. It's not so much right now, but they're still trying to stay warm.
yeah,
But and if you can include something that'll make them smile, make them happy, by all means, do it.
yeah, yeah. And I know just like, just for me specifically, I've tried to, like, stay focused on certain areas, certain organizations, or certain survivors that I can help, um, so that it's not as, like, wild and chaotic everywhere, and you can kinda hone in on somebody you
Yeah,
trust, somebody who's doing the right thing, or somebody who you know is really in need. I would say that that's what, if you're just hopping on the train of helping, that's kind of my little tip, I guess, at this. But
yeah. Well, that's how I feel, and it's why I don't know why I got so attached to Bakersville.
yeah,
If I had a job over, I'd live over there in a minute because it's like, to me, it's like my home now. And Loafer's Glory is one of the most beautiful places I ever saw. If you've never been, you need to go,
yeah,
even through the mess.
yeah, even well, and that's the funny thing is it's still beautiful, and I
It
think
is.
it'll be interesting, especially as we come out of winter. I'm so looking forward to the green. Like, I am so hopeful as we come out of winter that that'll kind of lift spirits a little bit, because I know we all would feel, even with as devastated as it is, just, spring. I'm so looking forward to the spring.
Me too. And some of those poor men over there getting rest. I know right when this last storm was getting ready to hit, they worked so hard
Yeah,
that, and I think they brought in 40 small homes that week. It was like a record for them. Yeah, they would some trucks was hauling 2 at a time, so they could try to get as many as they could in the warm.
and who is that is doing that you know?
Tiny the Tiny Projects is one of them.
Okay,
There's um, the beloved Asheville does it. I mean,
yeah,
there's a bunch of them. There's one in another guy in Kentucky. His group, they've been doing a lot as well.
yeah.
So
Oh. Well, thank you, Tina. Thank you for your time and for telling and sharing. Um, Thank you.
thank you for letting me tell and talk for them.
Of course, and anybody who's listening, if you wanna share, your experiences, please reach out to me. I This space is really just for everybody who's been here to be able to share their stories, whether that's volunteers, survivors, I don't know, anybody who really feels like they wanna share, you're welcome here. And anybody who's listening who wants to help and support our area, again, this is the TLC Center who's doing a lot of really good stuff in our area. But just liking and subscribing and sharing, really, I hope this channel and this space can kind of help our community long term, whether that's like helping, families as they get back on their feet, or even businesses. I hope that we can kind of all all be on the same team. That's the goal.
That's the goal. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Tina.
Thank you.